go into their offices. They'll open the parliament for you to go help impeach them. So you think they're playing? You think they're playing fair? That's why you're talking like this.
And that's what we expected. We expected when we go out there in big numbers and they say no. This is not what we want for our country. We expected them to back up, down, and they say yes, we can listen. Now we are going to adopt the Finance Bill 2023-2024. Yes, this is not right. We are going also to address the issues of corruption and the fact and the suck out the officers whom you are complaining about. That's what we expected. And that's all I'm asking you, Mr. Kibe.
Okay. Not satisfactorily, but you've answered me somehow.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Josephine. I was really trying to close this up. I just thought I would engage you a bit there.
That's what we expected. I really appreciate and that's all I'm asking you, Mr. Kibe. The other forum. So what I'm saying, as much as we have facilities, let's first sustain and protect the facilities we have. Then after that, we can now see the way forward. Thank you so much for listening to me, and may God bless you. May God bless our country. Let's be critical thinkers and look forward for what is best for us as a country. Thank you, Mr. Kibe.
All right. Charles Mbovi, are you here?
Yes, I am here. How do I make my speaker be heard?
How do you make your what?
Can I be heard?
Yeah, you're good. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Kibe, and thank you for the forum. I'll just be so brief. I'll start with one saying from Dalai Lama. He said, if you keep speaking, you keep repeating what you already know. If you keep quiet, you learn something new. And moving forward, yes, the movement is good. The initial momentum was good. But the other people, the opponents, are playing with us with these 3 Ds. Delay, deny. It's called the 3 Ds. Delay, dilute, deny. You can hear me, right? Yo, Kibe.
Maria Mugo, are you there?
No, I'm on the phone.
Hi, I think I can still hear Charles speaking.
Yeah, I'm still there. Oh, Kibe, you cannot hear me? How come? But I'll keep going. Let the voices, let the ears which can hear me. Don't cut me short, Kibe. I'm going to that moment of saying they're using the 3 Ds: delay, dilute, deny. We went through the delay. They were delaying the objection of the financial bill. Now they are diluting. Dilution is that moment when they are coming and bringing all this propaganda to dilute the motive of the Gen Z. Okay, and they are bringing all these propagandas to show that we are divided, we are not together, even all those things. And then the next thing will be deny. So let's not find ourselves in the deny after having put ourselves, yourselves, I'm not a Gen Z, myself, I'm a Gen X. So let's not wait to that moment when we find that we are denied. What we can do is, the Gen Z can do, I'm not a Gen Z, I'm a Gen X. What we can do is tone down, restructure. I'm not selling fear. Restructure, reconstruct, then move forward with a valid agenda, and then the dilution will not work. Remember, they're doing the 3 Ds: delay, dilute, deny. Thank you. That's my time. Thank you, Kibe, for giving me the time, and I appreciate for the space.
3Ds. Thank you, Charles. Appreciate that. Maria Mugo, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here. So thanks for the mic. I have been listening in, and I'm really happy for what the space is doing. Your space is doing. You're ripping people away from these petty sentiments and bringing them back to rationality. And there's something that I've noted from my end. As Gen Z, we do not have a deficit of ideas. We do not have a deficit of we should do this or we need to do this. No. What we don't have is something immediate. Like what is the bridge between you and doing that? And I think that is what Anthony and somebody else was asking, a lady who was speaking. She had very good ideas, but I think I'm at a point where I can see that we as Gen Zs are not yet ready for this conversation. Yeah, how are we legitimate? Like we, as much as it's a movement on the ground, how do we become legitimate? Whether it's by by having leaders, or since we are claiming we are leaderless, what kind of legitimacy do you have, or should we get to sit in that committee, whether it's in Bomas or if we are bringing them to the space? We still need legitimacy because we are fighting systems that have been refined through years and years. People have been refining. The corruption that we are fighting has been refined. Haikukuja jana. We didn't just wake up and find ourselves here. No, they have been refining these systems, and we can't fight them without structures as well. This is a country of structure, because as much as I want change, I'm also bound by law. So at times, like what happened yesterday, at times we might say, the Constitution gives you a right to get to the ground, but still that same law does allow for security bodies to say, we've cancelled Maandamano, we've cancelled demonstration. It is lawful. It is in Kenyan law. And maybe Wakili, I've seen a Wakili here, maybe I misinterpreted the law kidogo, but I read from the Public Order Act, Section 8. The police can cancel peaceful demonstrations. So after the police have cancelled peaceful demonstrations, we didn't know what to do next. Like, tumeambiwa sasa you've been delegitimized from the streets. What next? The reason we are confused is because we lack legitimacy. And lacking legitimacy gives space for people like ODM, who claim to be the current opposition, to take up space where we should be taking space, but we can't because we are not legitimate. That is my submission. Thank you.
Kibe, sorry to interject again and to enter to that. Kindly give me the space because I had not finished my time, please.
Sure, go on.
Okay, I just want to point out two observations. I was in the space yesterday, and there's this lady from USIU who spoke about, she's learning law. She was there today again, and the moderator, not Kibe, was cutting her short. See, the point of the space is to share ideas, to see the way forward, not to push forward our ideas. So allow me to say, in my observation, she was saying good things, and she was being cut short. Anyway, moving forward, I think also we should not allow lawyers who are in the space to come and give us sell fear to us. Wasituuzie uoga. I'm not a Gen Z and I'm not in Kenya, I'm in diaspora. I know my contribution is minute, but it's still a contribution. We should move forward and have a strategy. There's another guy who spoke yesterday in the evening at your space. I think his name is Humphrey, who is in the IT spectrum. He said he can consolidate all that has been said in this space, in the other space, and we can have a consultative, one combined forum. And Kibe, you allowed him, you said, yeah, go ahead. You told him to take the initiative. I think we should move forward with such mindset if we have to win the game. If we relent and if we go just repeating what we already know, then we shall lose the war. If we want to see a better Kenya, a Kenya which has structures, and I like what Kibe said yesterday, it's not about the leaders, it's about the structures that are put forth, the systems that are put forth for them to work. For example, if I have to apply for a passport, and the system is that I have to go and bribe there, push, it's not a working system. But if I have to apply the passport through the passport application portal, and it goes forth, and I'm told, come and collect, that's a working system. What we should look for is to see for working systems. I'm sorry if your co-host, Kibe's co-host, I bashed you, but I think you should not stop people who are talking some sense because of pushing your personal ideas and just interjecting to push your thinking for them to think like you're thinking. Let everybody be individual and independent. Thank you for that, and I thank you for the space.
You know, I like something Mariam has said. Mariam has said that going forward, you know, if we continue moving forward without a definitive end game, we shall be scattered. I want you to look at what is happening today on Twitter. You know, there's this push of Raila Odinga. You know, there's this push for Raila Odinga. So the question, Charles, and I want you, Charles, to come back and tell us, how do we transition? I don't know whether you are saying Ruto has transitioned, Raila Odinga has transitioned, because we cannot sit, even clean water, put it in a bottle without moving it. It becomes stale. So how do we transition? Because if we don't transition quick enough, we shall become stale. So how do we continue agitating for the Kenya we want, okay, and still have gains to achieve that Kenya we want? I want us to go, you know, you, Mariam, let's narrow down on that. Let's narrow down on how do we transition as everyone else is transitioning. You know, we are playing a game of politics. So all other, like what Mariam has said, all other politicians have structures. So all these structures now have transitioned. The only guys who are not transitioning is us. You want to tell me we continue moving on with one style, we shall achieve what we want? So how do we transition? That's my simple question. We know our problems. So how do we go to the next stage?
I'm in agreement with your sentiments, and I agree. Without structures, there's no moving forward. By the way, let me introduce myself. My name is Charles, and I'm doing PhD, which is for strategic management in organizations. Yeah. Without an organized structure, we cannot move forward. Nobody can move forward. But how do you do it?
Give Gen Zs a structure.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to do that.
Thank you.
Okay. If you have the end goal, you first have to get the goal. And then and people have been speaking about that. I've been on this space and I've been listening. And those are the sentiments of everybody. Let's have the goal. Then let's cut those goals into semi-goals, small goals, then we shall go there. If we just go there, they have listened to us. They will apply the 3Ds.
Charles, sorry. They're already applying them, eh?
They're already applying.
Right now,
and now we're in the dilute stage where these bloggers are coming and putting all things, feeding us with fake information. That is dilute, dividing us. Even you saw that meeting with Kalonzo, that's dilute. We don't know how it transpired. We are in dilute moment. If they dilute us, if they dilute the Gen Z, then we will start fighting against each other. I've gone to another forum, and it's all disarray because dilution has entered. Now we need to look forward. We should know that we are in dilution stage. Let's not forget the motive. Let's not forget our ideologies. Let us not forget our goal. From there, we move on.
Okay, Nicholas. What is Nicholas saying? I'm seeing his hand up. Unmute yourself, Nicholas.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Andrew Kibe. I've found the space where people are now talking on ways forward. And this makes me happy. This morning, in another space, I was talking about how we can change tactics. And moving forward, I believe that what shall make us achieve something is that we should change from being activists to being advocates. Activism is where you create attention, you offset things and affect the system and offend the system. That one has happened, and the result is that there are some of our demands that have already been worked on and being put to practice by the president. Like our activism led to shutdown of the finance bill, that was a scope. It led to dissolution of the government. We all know all those things that has been achieved. Now let us be advocates. And advocacy does not bar room for dialogue, because most of our demands, some of them require dialogue, some of them require action. For example, I was just saying this morning that I have a problem with the constitution, which gave the members of parliament the authority to enact a law that can see their recall. That is a policy issue that we need to speak about, because you cannot employ somebody and then you have him set rules to fire himself. You have made them make a law that makes them immune to be recalled. That's a policy issue. We have to talk about it. And that's why if Baba says, let's dialogue, I need dialogue that addresses such like things. I don't need dialogue that addresses obvious things that need action, like firing people who are corrupt. Another policy that needs a conversation is the Political Parties Act, whereby we elect leaders into parliament, and when their coalition or party does not.
Okay, we've lost you. Duke, unmute yourself. Sema. Is it only me who can't hear you guys?
No, I can hear you. You're laudable enough. You're laudable enough.
Okay. So Kidogo, Duke, mute yourself so that Nicholas finishes, then you come in. Okay, Nicholas, finish. Duke, talk. We can hear you. I think Nicholas is gone.
Come on a space. I can add on one thing, if I'm allowed.
Who is talking? Charles or
Charles.
Okay, Charles.
Okay. I really do not like the space. I mean, to kill you fear, that will stop our motivation. So even if it's a lawyer who has gone to school of law, other people have gone to other schools, school of life, school of everything. Let us not sell fear. We should have a strategy going forward. And the strategy is do not relent, go forward, and have pertinent issues that
but
can.
You see, Duke, Kidogo, you
Okay,
see,
sir.
we've been saying don't relent, go forward. What we are asking is the way forward. No one is saying about relenting.
Yes.
I use that? Okay, let me just put it. We have two options.
Yeah.
Either continue with Maandamano, or we change our style of Maandamano and go and negotiate as we Maandamano, or we stop Maandamano fully and negotiate.
Okay.
For the Kenya we want.
For me,
we can't have it.
For me, I would think, that's my thinking. The Uhuru Park thing is a moving forward thing. Okay, and that is something that will be sustaining the Maandamano perspective. Now, even if we go to Uhuru Park, we stay there for 1 year. If we don't have pertinent issues that can be resolved, then we have no voice. And remember, they are diluting our ideas. Always have that in mind. So as we go even to the Maandamano, as we go to the Uhuru Park thing, let us have issues that can be tabled. And no dialogue, yes, but we need to have the voices be heard. And the voices cannot be vetoed as it makes sense. They have to be things that are making sense, things that are moving the country forward. That's my take.
You know, Duke, what you're saying, and I'll tell you back why. I will even give you why Bonnie, the activist, chose Uhuru Park.
Yeah.
He chose Uhuru Park because that is where Wangari Maathai sat for close to a year. But the difference with her sitting, do you know what was the difference was? You know those things you are saying, pertinent issues?
Yeah.
They had them written on placards.
Yes.
Because, let me tell you something, Bonnie, and Kibe has been alluding to this for the longest time. We must become issue-based. It's like, you know, anything that lacks issue loses substance.
Yes.
So, the reason Wangari Maathai went to Uhuru Park, and I'm seeing a guy called David, I think it's David Makali. Yes, David Makali. I think Kibe can bring him in. The reason Wangari Maathai went there is because she had started with the street movement, with Greenbelt. Her hair was plucked, she was beaten, her accounts were frozen, until she realized one thing. I need to start fighting Moi intellectually. Because if I continue fighting him in the street, he has all the ways to beat my body down. So she asked herself, how can I agitate in two ways? You have to have a multi-pronged activism. How do I attract the attention of the world to myself, the attention of the nation to myself, and the attention of Arap Moi to myself? She chose Uhuru Park because it was in the middle of Nairobi.
Agreed.
The day Moi attacked her, all the media in the world was on her. Because they asked, why are you attacking defenseless women seated down, simply raising a concern?
And that's the time they went to town without bras.
You know, you are lucky. Yes, you are lucky I can't mute you. Good.
So I will mute myself. But that's the time when they went to town braless. I know that and I remember that.
Good. I want to bring guys to this panel to answer.
I'm Gen X, so I know.
The moment this woman realized that she can have impact.
But then after that,
I'm not telling people to remove bras, but that single act of her removing the bra.
Yeah. And there were several women, even church was there, even CK was there, everybody was there.
But do you agree her strategy was non-violent? No goons could attack her? Because if anyone tried to attack her, people would be like, why are you attacking her?
Agreed. They were still attacked. They were still attacked.
Yes.
They were still attacked.
She became the victim.
Yes.
She stopped becoming the aggressor.
But she went back and re-strategized.
Exactly. We are saying the same thing, Charles.
So we re-strategize and we go back with,
we need a formula that will bring the attention of this country and of the world back to us.
Yeah, and I will ask
now we can start talking about the wage bill. corruption, a bloated government, unemployment, like what nothing has said, that unemployment is close to our heart. That is the only way. But so long we keep running around in the streets,
Yes.
we are becoming two protagonists.
And I will ask, and I will ask you,
force.
and I will ask you and Andrew Kibe, the host.
I finished.
Bring in that guy who spoke yesterday, that Humphrey guy, who said he can bring in whatever has been spoken in all these spaces together, and then people can vote, so that we can have one common voice. Do you know, I'll tell you one thing that maybe many people don't know, the Gen Zs. The divide and rule thing still works. Do you know why Kirinyaga is called Kirinyaga? Kikuyu is called Kikuyu. Ukambani is called Ukambani? Because it was divided. This guy, our former leader, president, he came and divided the provinces and everything to call as per their names. Before that, there were no Atikitu inaitwa Kikuyu, inaitwa Ukambani, no. It was one region, but divide and rule. Ilileta ukabila.
Charles,
so once we strategize ourselves and we put ourselves together, voiceless, we need a leader.
Charles, do you agree that when goons came in, it was to turn the public mood against the Maandamano?
Of course, that was clear.
I want us to go point by point. Point by point.
Yeah.
Now, do you agree that the public mood is shifting against Maandamano?
Exactly.
Good.
And now, that is a dilute now. We are in dilute.
Exactly. I'm with you 100%.
We are in dilute now. We need to know that we have already been diluted. So what is the way forward?
Good. The way forward is what you've suggested. But no one is doing these suggestions. It's the high time we start saying what are the issues we want. You can't say government knows. We've been saying them. No. Let us have our issues structured.
Exactly.
Because every government wants a functioning nation.
Exactly.
True or not true?
And you know, in Africa, it's not like in Europe or in the US, where the PM is told you have not performed and then they step down. In Africa, we cannot see that.
We can't do that. You know, let me tell you something, Charles. And I'm happy we're having this conversation with you. And I'm happy Mariam is here. And I'm happy there was this lady. Nothing is back on the podium.
The USIU lady was speaking very well, and
I know just
somehow she was
well. We've been on. No. Let's now move on. She will come back. Okay.
Yeah.
Guys, if we don't start being smart, we shall be used and dumped. Okay. So can we start structuring ourselves strategically? Because that's the only thing that I've been missing in this entire movement thing, is strategy. We started with something, but I was going back to Bonnie, and I don't want to attack him. But anytime you tell Bonnie, what are the issues? Ruto must go. He knows that's the longest route.
No, that's not the only mantle. That's a wrong mantle. Exactly. He should go, but yes, we have to have pertinent issues to make him go.
Exactly. Now, what do we go forward? And I want nothing to come back to this because they are the Gen Zs. Me, I'm a millennial. I'm heading to 40.
Me, I'm X.
I want, as nothing comes in, I want us to appreciate that we are now starting to have a convergence of mind. Okay? So nothing, as you come back in, I want us to talk on how do we move forward. You've tried writing letters, they are not working. So how do you use what you know, the ideas you have, how do we coalesce around them? What you are thinking, what Mariam is thinking, and what Duke is thinking, so that we work in harmony, rather than working in
exactly. Consolidating the ideas, putting them forward to get the goal. Thank you. Thank you for the time.
So am I allowed to speak?
Peleka 375 kwa Mr. Chips. Okay.
Okay, allow me to address a couple of issues. The issue of destruction of property, it's very, very regrettable. I don't think that was on the agenda. If we can all remember, they kept saying, we are peaceful, we are peaceful, we are peaceful. So it's very sad to see the destruction of property and lives. But this happens sometimes when you have the aggression, the heavy-handedness we have seen from the police. I pray we can appeal to the police for them to understand that they are our brothers and sisters. We don't intend to harm them, and we have seen that they have honestly human hearts, because like the Uhuru Park thing, they were actually giving food to people. So let's bridge the gap between the police, the security, and the protesters. Let's avoid any distraction. I think I've seen posters where they say, should you step out, make sure if you find anyone stealing, destroying, arrest. But also, let's not be blind to the fact that there have been people who probably should have been a part of us, but they ended up behaving like goons. And then there was the introduction of goons. Let's look at it from the point of view that Kenya is our home. We have nowhere to run. I said this before when Kibe was hosting. Our neighbors have all fought and they're right here. So war is not an option in this country. So we should continue. Maybe we should commit to that fact that destruction of property is a no. Number two, I feel so sad when I hear people talk about foreign investor. What are you guys talking about? Africa is the richest continent ever. Magufuli built Tanzania to a mind-blowing level without external debt. So can we stop talking about foreign investor? Number two, Kenyans come to life to the fact that, you see the way foreigners come to Kenya, they run businesses. In fact, they become like demigods. A country like China, for a Kenyan man to run a business there, has to marry a Chinese girl and even still hide around.
Nothing. A minute. Sorry. I want us to concentrate on nothing. How do we turn around this movement to start winning?
I'm coming to that. I'm just addressing what has been said many times before. So I want Kenyans to first believe in yourself that we can do it. We can turn around this country, and perhaps even the president is the best person to do this with. So he should not look at other Kenyans like their enemy. People keep saying there are two sides to a coin. There are actually three sides to a coin. So let him also shine a bit of advice from his team. And then I don't speak for the Gen Z. I'm not looking for a job in government. At best, I can come in as a consultant when I'm done with school, which will be in a couple of weeks. What I would, somebody said this to Kibe yesterday, and that is what this gentleman is saying, that we can actually, and I highlighted earlier, we can have a platform. We can either say sisi kwa sisi as Kenyans, where we look at an idea, we poke holes. They're not perfect ideas. Everybody can contribute to harness an idea. We poke holes on the idea, bringing together, carve it in a way that it perfectly fits. Because what I know is that ideas on a table, when it comes to implementing, variations come in. So let's look at working together. So when we come to, and I can't stop anyone from saying what they want to say, when we come on board on, and I think somebody had said that Andrew's next space will be about looking at ideas, shade of the what is it called? And he said that earlier, the victim mentality. Be bold. Kenyans are good at anything they put their mind to it. It's just that because of lack of opportunity, when someone starts Uber, everybody gets into it. Yet there's a ton of things that we can do. So let's have a platform where we can bring in those. If this is a platform you want us to address, then you need to say this is a platform. But I would prefer if to avoid repeating the same thing. Kibe, if you may reach out to other people who have been hosting spaces and say, hey guys, we're having a space on the Kenya we want. And we give people we've never heard about, because I was so disappointed in a different space where someone was saying this person has no followers. We are as strong as our weakest link, where we come together and say today it's idea based. Even someone can say Kibe can structure it and say the only voice I want to hear is people talking about education. Then the next one, by the time people are saying okay fine guys, can we head into the direction of sitting on the table? You'll not look back and start saying, this hopeless people did ABCD. We will come with a packaged idea. And Kibe said yesterday about leadership. It's too early. We don't know about people's character. It's too early to have leaders. The leadership now we want is where people bring ideas on the table and say, let's look at this way. This is how it can be achieved. And then we go that in that direction. Personally, I said I'll hold my ground on unemployment. It's very clear in my mind what I want to do and exactly how I wanted to do it. So let's agree. Can we have a platform? Can Andrew host first talk to other people so that we can cover as many people as possible? And then we bring in the ideas on, guys, what do we do? But if this is where you want us to do it, then tell me that, because I don't want to jump the gun. Thank you.
Okay, nothing. Now let's give Maria, I can see you, but let's give, because you've spoken, Luvisia, then there's a guy here called, he doesn't, give Luvisia, then after Luvisia, Maria comes in. So, unmute yourself, Luvisia.
Okay, thank you so much for the opportunities. I think kwa hii space tumekuwa tunaongea sana hii story, and the way the point is the way forward. So from the way circumstances na unravel, inaonekana kwamba we need to re-strategize. Yeah, at the beginning, basically, because we don't have wanasema hii leaderless movement on personal level, venye ulianza a general hashtag kwamba Ruto must go, I felt but kama tunge focus on things we can achieve and that makes sense, then niliona hii inaweza make sense. So that's what
Is it me who lost Luvisia?
No, I also can't hear him.
Okay. Just Maria, go on then. Now I can hear you.
All right. So I was saying, at the beginning, tulianza vizuri, but now at this point we needed to restructure. Kwa mfano, tuliwashtua. Unajua ile time tulikuwa tumewashtua, and now unaona political class wameregroup, and they are going to use all means to divide us. Na ilianza kuonekana tu the moment kila mtu alianza kuhost spaces yake, then unapata.
So Anthony, I can't hear Luvisia. Is he still talking?
Yes, he is.
Oh, tell him to drop off and come back.
Okay, Luvisia, a good drop, then utarudi. Okay. Maria, say you have something on your mind.
Yeah, I would like to engage nothing kidogo and help bring you home. Like you have tabled very pertinent issues, and you've been articulate on. You've done some heavy background research on things that hata mimi singefikiria to look into. But here is the thing. You have the data, you have the facts. Which table are you bringing them to? Like you're heading home, yes, but unakatalia kwa jirani. How do you get home? How do you join this table? How do you bring those solutions that you have to a table? And which table is this? This I'm saying this referring to the issue on legitimacy. We have a movement, we have solutions. We've listed problems. We've already talked about them. We've been talking about them for the past 3 weeks. We have solutions, but how do we take a step forward and start activating the solutions? This brings in the issue of legitimacy. We are not legitimate. That is the bitter truth. I mean, saizi, we don't even qualify as the opposition of this country, and yet hearsay is we have the majority. That's all.
So before nothing jumps in, I'll take you back to something someone said. That the biggest problem with the Gen Z, you have the numbers, but you guys never vote. You have the numbers, but you guys can never speak in one voice. Maria is saying, we have our ideas, but we are unpackaged. We are everywhere. And that's what I'm trying to tell you, nothing. Okay. You anytime you take the mic, don't talk about, we know what IMF is doing. We know our potential. We know everything. Give us a solution. Let's assume you've graduated. Now you are our consultant. We've given you, you're saying you're graduating in a week. We've given you the job a week before you graduate. How do we drive the point of what we want home? Because as is now, the Gen Z movement just cleared the way for Raila Amolo Odinga and Kalonzo Musyoka. You guys will still be left in the street. I hope that thing is sinking in. So Maria, you can unmute. Before Maria, nothing comes in. Does anyone else want to say something? Okay, nothing. Take it off. Take it up.
I think the best way to shape the conversation is to allow a space where we can now talk about solutions and that will direct people. But when it comes to leading a leaderless revolution, and I think people are used to leaders that people are not moving forward to read books whereby you understand how this thing can work. I think the best way to bring people together so that nobody is left behind, and it's no longer about Gen Zs, it's about Kenya. The best way is can you guys come up with a platform, talk to each other, come up with a platform where now we talk about what the solution are going to be. That way, you bring in people, there'll be no backlash of people saying, oh, exactly who are you talking about? Well, I agree with you 100%. But the way to do it, when you want to win the hearts of people, don't tell them what to do, show them. Well said, well done is always better than well said. So let's bring people together and say, let's have a conversation. Where are we going? What is this about? And you'll be surprised effortlessly.
Nothing. We are close to 1,000 people in this space, so we are already together.
Okay, fine.
We are already together. So start with the multitude you have.
Okay,
don't wait. And in any movement, people will always be left behind, and others will follow you. So let me just give you some back history. Kibe has tried what you're saying, but everyone has their own pride and their own strategy. So Kibe did try to bring everyone in one space. Okay? It didn't work. So now we can only work with the space we have. Okay? And I am happy we are getting progress. I hope you notice that out of the 4 Gen Zs in this group, you all seem to agree that there needs to be a change of strategy. We need to start talking as we are doing other things. True or not true?
True.
Good. So let's now discuss. We have identified the problems. Okay, we know our potential. And I'll encourage you guys to do one thing. Go and study the history of Wangari Maathai. And you realize that for you to change any government and to get the Kenya you want, you need to be on the table, not on the streets. Wangari Maathai simply agitated on the streets for so long. It was actually after Uhuru Park that she ended up on the table. Her fight and Moi stopped after Uhuru Park. Okay? Because they were now able to talk with each other and not at each other. So you can propagate a movement silently, but inside the movement you are trying to change. But you need one foot in. Then you put the next foot in. Then you have your waistline in. Then you have your body and your whole body in. Okay? Right now, the people who are out now are back in. We are still out. Am I making some sense to you guys? So next time people are on spaces, let's not say, when someone tells you we are going here, ask yourself, of all the grounds, why did he pick a specific one? You guys, we started having multitudes going out. Somewhere, somehow, the crowds are getting smaller. The talking spaces are getting smaller. Why? Because public trust is waning. And if it wanes, we will have fought for so much and achieved nothing. So how do we now expand this talking space we have to say, you know what, guys, there's a space somewhere where people are actually talking about ideas. And I'll give you a classic example, Malcolm X versus Martin Luther King. Malcolm X was, well, let's stay on the street. Martin Luther King was, no, we need another form of agitation. Today, the world remembers more of Martin Luther King and part of Malcolm X. Because progress only happens when you start engaging and changing your emotions. That's the point we need to realize.
Okay, Mariam, real gone. Yeah, take over. I'm struggling with your names.
Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah.
All right, so I just want to start by saying that I don't know why most of you guys don't see that imeenda. The moment you see Raila teaming up with Ruto, you already know that they are trying to drive us into this conversation they're talking about, into sitting in a boardroom. And that in itself is a problem, because now that means the politicians will be shaping the conversation. So going into the solutions, just to emphasize on my point before I go into the solutions, I was just listening to Nuru Okanga and the rest of the ODM guys talking about how Baba has goons and, you know, talking about they are going to release their goons and all that. So, you know, right now, the streets is no longer an option. And we must now start looking at different direction. So some of the solutions that I can suggest is one, first we need to own the space. If you have been following everything that's been happening, is that most of the work was being done from the social media and then pushed down to the streets. And we need to own that space of social media. We need to shape the conversation. All of us here need to speak one language. We need to push for the same agenda. So that's one thing that needs to be done. Then if you realize, Nairobi shapes the conversations for the rest of the country. And unfortunately, in the past few days, we've started now seeing the conversation starting from the village coming this other side. If that happens, that means we've lost the whole thing. Yesterday, I was just I attended a space for Elgeyo Marakwet, and I could hear them engaging their governor so well. There's now awareness. People are now coming out to say we can actually ask for accountability from our leaders. And that is the direction that we need to go. We need to remove this already stigma that has been associated with the movement, that the movement is violent. And we need to deassociate ourselves from that movement, that violent movement, back to how it all began, where we were very peaceful. We had one goal, which was to reject finance bill. We need to list I mean, the very important things that we need to be addressed immediately by the government. We need to shape the conversation throughout the country. The country needs to get back our guidance from Nairobi going downwards to the villages. But it cannot be the other way around, because now everybody starts doing their own things and it becomes unruly, and we lose focus. And that's why, for me, I would say, from my own opinion, instead of saying Ruto must go, why don't we say Ruto must reform? And we point out the things that need to be reformed. We all realize that we have a 60-year-old mess that needs to be corrected. Everybody, it's only that right now all these things have now come out. And Ruto, unfortunately, has to take this burden. But we have seen the goodwill from Ruto. Why don't we take advantage? They usually say, if you give me a mile, I will push it to 1,000 miles. And that is the advantage we have. If we've been given this opportunity, then we can take advantage of that small opportunity, that 1 mile, and keep pushing and pushing and pushing until we achieve everything that we have. Everybody has spoken about all the ills that we have had in our country. There's so many reports that have been done. There's so many commissions that have been put in place. For instance, there's Waki reports, there's Ndungu report on land. There are all these things sleeping somewhere. Nobody wants to implement them. How can we then push the government? This is not something we are asking them to do afresh. It's already there. We have it on space. We can see it. So, as I said, we've been given 1 mile. Let's take advantage of that 1 mile and push it to 1,000 miles. We can correct these things if we push ourselves back on board to how we began and stop this issue of Occupy Uhuru Park and all this stuff. We are not heading anywhere. Right now, guys, I don't know. We are still delusional, thinking that we are still in charge, but we need to understand that the moment Baba joined Ruto, you need to know that this thing is already gone. We do not engage these politicians in the space, in their comfortable space. We lose in a very big way. And now these things will turn into a blame game. The Gen Zs are violent and all this stuff. So those are my few pieces of senses. Thank you for the opportunity.
Real gone. You know what? You are the guy I've been waiting to hear from. You know, I told guys, there's one thing you need to realize, eh? Am I audible, by the way?
Yes, you're audible.
Now, Blue Sam, you're next. Now, I don't know whether you've noticed that we moved the national conversation from mainstream media to X. Now, Real Gone, you've said something. Duke Sawa. Now, I want us to tell Kibe, because I know Kibe can get someone who has an influence somewhere in government. So Kibe will be telling us, today, the governor of this place has agreed. I want you to ask a good question. Do you know what I like about Kibe? Because Kibe can hold a sober conversation. And I'm not blowing his trumpet. He can. So that we engage this person on Mr. Minister, Madam PS or Mr. PS. These are the things we want to see changing in your ministry. And we give her time without, unainganga space ingine unasikia tu sijui vacuum kundu yako, all that nonsense. We remove that nonsense. We start talking about issues. Because Gona said that yesterday, I also nilingia space ya ergo marakwit, that these guys have realized if we don't engage these people, they'll turn on us. So my suggestion would be, because we've already missed the table of IEBC, I don't know whether we missed it or not, but if Kibe can tell us today, and I hope I'm not putting him on the spot, that, you know what, guys, I'm going to bring you this guy. I want you to prepare your questions, and I want us to have a sober discussion, devoid of insults. We are not calling a person to insult them. We are calling them to ask questions so that we understand where we are and where we want to go to. So, I know those are the solutions I'm asking for, or we are asking for, the way forward and how to get there. Blue Sam, unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you so much. So in my speech kidogo nitadifanawe kiasi, but I hope you will bear with me. Now, I want to say that you see, I had some people say, from after.
Man, Anthony, I can't hear Bluesman.
Oh.
After waiting all that time, Bluesman, see, drop off and come back.
Then utafanywa speaker immediately.
Okay, sawa.
Yeah.
Sasa unanisikia?
Mimi nakusikia. Kibe
unanisikia?
In fact, Anthony, let me make you co-host for a minute so you can help me sort this this mess. Yeah, so tell Bluesman to drop off and come back. We'll give him a chance to go straight into the conversation.
Okay. Bluesman.
Ni drop
Drop urudi. Sijui kama ndaza kumake. Naona Kibe amentumia kunimake co-host. But okay, before Kibe comes back, if you can hear Bluesman, put a thumbs up.
Aya, kama unanisikia tafadhali nionyeshe kwa mkono. Aya, wewe unanisikia mwingine.
We are game. Okay. Go on.
Okay, so allow me to niongee like ni differ so many of your of your ideas. So mimi kitu nitasema number 1. Unasema that ni poa tuende kwa like tuende kwa table moja na wao, which is a great idea but the fact is kitu kama tuliachieve rejection of hiyo bill bila kwenda kwao directly, because kama last year the problem was mwenye alikuwa na push demos against a finance bill ni mse mwenye ni hypocrite, that is Raila. Like deep inside yeye anataka share yake, hataki kutetea wananchi. So at least usikuwe na ile ati to discourage that ati hatuwezi like solo. Najua tunaweza in a way, but of course we need to be tunajipanga. Secondly, the reason numbers zimeingia of course ni juu ya hii kuleta mambo ya goons. So watu wengine wamekuwa abducted and what have you, so that's why numbers zimetamku to reduce. So one thing I will agree now, somebody, where is the noise coming from? Anthony, please mute. Okay, I think it's okay now. So kitu nasema we need to have clear ideas. Of course tuna need kuwa na agenda zenye tuna push zenye tunafaa. Okay, ukiangalia the Auditor General huwa anatoa some reports za corruption almost kila time. Unapata kama jana unasikia sijui na so those are some of the ideas. I thought wale watu wenye wanaunda poster, the graphic designers, wanaweza kuwa wanaunda poster yenye inasema maybe arrest fulani wa fulani. So tuna push for recovery of that money as we continue on the streets, because me na feel bado story ya street haijaenda, because okay hao wenye wanasema sijui wako na goons, hiyo ni nini tu, hiyo ni project yao. Of course itakuwa difficult ku succeed, lakini ni very possible. So history ya leaderless again nataka ku emphasize that Gen Z walikuwa successful wakiwa leaderless compared to kama Raila last year venye alikuwa na reject finance bill akiwa yeye ndo leader, because yeye alikuwa ana negotiate pale mbele, anakanjwa zake anarudi. So tukisema tulete leader, we can see like for example tushaileta wasi tu kadhaa. How many task forces zimeletwa mbele na hatujaiona any change. Ujue saa hii the reason wa Kenya wamekasirika si juu hataki kulipa tax, ni juu hawafurahi venye tax yao inatumika. And again the problem is bigger than we think. The whole regime iko na shida. Like ukiangalia hata the percentage of tax yenye inatumika kulipa debt, sasa tumefika 70%. Time ya Uhuru tulikuwa 50. Before that tulikuwa 17. So we can all see that tunaelekea juu, kwani tutaenda 80 then mere like we don't have a country. Yani tunaelekea pabaya. That's why like hii kitu inahitaji agency ingine hatari sana. The moment umetuma two leaders wawili, utasikia sijui discussion imekuja, suggestions sijui are taking 2 years, kidogo tumeingia kwa election na hao wase wameshaka nje, wamekuwa part of the corrupt system. Okay, I strongly feel that ile very effective way sahi ni kudeal na regime yote. Na now that it is clear that kama waseka kina Raila they are just there for their self interests, so tukiwa bring down wote, like itakuwa a solution a greater mile. Juu tunajua vizuri the reason tuko hapa economically ni juu ya corruption, like loans zenye zinachukuliwa zinakuwa pocketed by people, na hiyo ni kitu mtu kaa Ruto hawezi kubali to investigate basically, na wenzake wengi au ma-CS wenye wameenda home wote wako kwa hiyo mix, Raila kwa hiyo mix. So hiyo kitu tukianza kuisolve amicably, yes we can get some few solutions kidogo, but the main solution ya ku get our country in the right direction itakuwa ngumu sana ku solve, like kama hatuta bring down the whole regime. Okay, now suggestion yangu ni rahisi sana tu, like tukienda kwa streets, the difference to if we manage to wake up early, just that. Okay, most of the time unapatanga demonstrations zinaanzanga kitu saa 5 saa 6, hapo ndio polisi wanaanza kupushana na wase, so by saa 8 watu wengine wako sure kama hii kitu itakuwa successful. But if like tukikuwa na the next campaign tunataka maybe kuoccupy somewhere ama tunataka kutokea, remember hata tunaweza kuwa tuna agitate, tunaweza kuwa tuna bring forward story ya justice for the fallen soldiers, juu bado hawajapata justice, bado tunajua vizuri hawajapata justice, nobody has been jailed. That is enough reason ya kutokea strongly kwa streets. Tukiwa na hizo mbili tu, jail the corrupt au wasi corrupt, to list a few pale, and then justice for fallen soldiers, hiyo ni good reason ya kutokea. And then tukitokea tu mapema, ati tujue saa 2 hivi CBD iko na wasika dhao wenye wameketi pale chini. Mimi nikiona hiyo kitu already mimi nitatoka kwangu sana nikielekea hapo. By saa 5 hivi tutakuwa tumetake over and it's possible because it happened in so many countries. Unasikianga of the so many revolutions, I don't have to mention it. So mimi point yangu ni game changer ya kwenda kwa street inaweza kwa kutokea mapema. And then ni poa kusolve amicably, ni poa kuleta, because okay we always have like the likes of Kasmuel wenye anaendanga kwa media. Akina Ruto anasikianga hizo story the same way venye nimesema, tuko na au ma-auditor already, kuna reports zenye ziko ready, it's upon them to act. We don't have to present them some ndio wa act. Kama wanataka kuact wata act, as you saw wali act, alitoa hiyo finance bill the same way alifanya cabinet, hakuna wase waliketi chini na yeye. So kama ni kuact anaweza act, but the fact is kwenda kwa ground sisi wote in a very very strong movement, hiyo ndo kitu inaweza change hii regime na turudishe nation in its right direction. Before tumekuwa na so many discussions, wase wengi wametokea, tukachagua kina Jagwa huku tukidhani wataongea fiti, wanaenda wanakuwa part, which is not the best way. So bado tukileta tu msee atatokea tu pale akiwa ati sijui ndio Raila wetu, kumbe huyo msee atakuja kidogo na actually atakuwa overpowered because akiketi kwa board na watu wengine 15 wenye ni corrupt, sauti yake ni moja bro, hakuna venye itawai hatutawai achieve. So the people in this space wenye bado wanaamini kwenda street ni possible na bado kwenda kwa street inaweza komboa nchi, msi lose hope. We just know that in the next posters we are making, make sure point ya kutoka mapema manzi, hiyo kitu itakuwa game changer na utapata tu itakuwa easy kufanya like other nations did. Thank you so much.
So Blue Sam, kitu nimesikia ukisema mtoke kwa streets, mtoke mapema.
Yes.
Mko na point zile mnataka kudiscuss na gava kwa posters, si ndio?
Yes.
Hizo vitu zote unaona venye umesema kumekuwa na commissions mingi na hakuna kitu ufanywa. Let me surprise.
Yes.
Vitu ufanywa ni venye zile vitu ufanywa zinafanyangwa kwa interest ya wase wale walikuwa kwa negotiation, kwa ya table ya kunegotiate. So kuna changes happen, lakini it is for the fewer, not for the many. Si ndio? So exactly. This is good, and where we want to get to is where the changes are for the many, not the few. Si ndio?
I see. Yes.
Good. So let me correct your one thing. Hatujasema mwache kwenda kwa street. Mnajitetea kitu poa sana. Kitu tunasema ni change style. Okay?
Yes.
Na naona speakers ni wengi, nita accept kadhaa, naona wase wengi sana. So kuna wase interdrop ndio ni accept wengine. So I like that your solution based. So mu change style, lakini la tunataka mjiulize, okay, hizo ideas zote Juarez atakuja anze kusoma. Huyu anataka tuachilie Odhis hapo jela gani? Buru. Huyu naye anasema Wanjiku hapo Kenyatta Hospital, nitasotio bill. So mnanidumu atachukua hizo vitu zote ende nazo kwa tebu. Kweli murongo.
Okay, now I'm telling you.
Kidogo.
Yes.
Na sisemi mtu memsende kwa tebu permanently. Mnaweza mtuma adeliver vitu zenyu na atoke. Sawa?
Yes.
Kazi yako msili kwa tu. Okay. So that but now your needs kidogo. So that the things you are fighting for begin to get a structure. Are you getting? Begin to
I'm getting you, but
thank you.
Okay. Can I talk?
Talk, then we allow 2 minutes, then to do. Nataka mseyang naona Mr. Political. Ama
okay.
Mtu mwingine tu.
Okay, now you see hiyo nini ya kutuma msena pepa. Number 1, the media is there. Okay,
mnataka tu mtu atawa represent. But go on.
Okay, can you mute please kama naongea? So what I'm saying is hiyo story ya kutuma msee na pepa kukua point msee moja, hiyo ni kama kusema turudi venye Raila alikuwa na negotiate the previous so many times, yet hajaipata anything sorted cause alikuwa naeko kwa mfuko. And again, okay, it's not that necessary kukua na msee pale mmoja because tumeona tukiachieve kureject finance bill, yet hakuna msee mwenye alienda pale mmoja. Tulienda kama group. And the same way
media. Blusam, nataka uchukue finance bill ili kuweka kitu inaitwa eco levy on manufactured unaona hizi mafuta manufactured akina fresh fry na postman na nini. Do you know zote zilipanda? Finance bill ilikuwa na fuel levy. Do you know fuel levy ili affect eco? Finance bill ilikuwa inafaa ku raise 346 billion. Sasa tutomba 1 billion. Okay? So mnaweza kwa mkisema finance bill ilianguka, yes, but bado inaimplementiwa. So yes, you won. Figuratively, you won the war, but you lost the battle. I need to win the war and the battle.
I get. Na ndio maana nikaanza kwa kusema we don't have a country here. This is a joke. Like, yani that's why tuna need to get rid of the whole regime cause tutapeleka wasee pale wakuje tu pale na list wasome vitu, but in reality unabeba upala. Na the fact is the issues zenye tuko nazo ziko kwa report kadhaa. Auditor General ana release, wase kwa media, kwa TV wanaongeanga na inasikika, na bado tunaongeanga kwa social media. So our main problem is to get the country in the right direction, and the only way to do that is to get rid of the whole regime. And now for easy vitu zingine like idea tuko nazo ni relevance to, like tuko na placards pale ama tuko na posters pale zenye zinasema justice for the fallen soldiers, but tunajua that is an idea, but tuko na the main agenda. As you heard, by the way, finance bill ilikuwa tu trigger, but the fact ukweli ni eti the country is headed in the wrong direction.
So Blusam, I have heard you. What are to
Okay, nothing.
We were working with a structure.
I want to
a minute, and then I'll give you. Blusam, I have heard you, and I want all you Gen Zs here. I want you to go and look at the history of Wangari Maathai. Si alikuwa na fight tu kitu mnafaitia. But ndio change ikuje. Unaona time Maathai alikuwa anapigania, I think Muite was in jail. Muite alikuwa jela. There was someone in prison. Na kuna wase wengi sana walikuwa hosi. So ndio aget Moi kuachilia au prisoners au walikuwa Nyayo House ndio alienda Uhuru Park. Wakati walimit na Moi, she tabled her grievances. So Moi did something called a swap. It was a give and take. I'll release ABCD and you will do ABCD. Are you getting? Any negotiation is give and take, but you need to be on the table. Okay, nothing. Before you respond, so that you respond to a couple of things, okay? Let's allow Mishi, unmute yourself, then you say.
Okay, hi. I just want to run back a few things, and one of them is this thing about Raila and Kalonzo taking up this whole ending up being the ones who have won this battle. The thing is, it doesn't matter who he talks to, whether he puts himself in a place where he feels that he'll address us on behalf of Gen Zs, or he'll address the government. It doesn't matter, because no one is listening to him. Number one, he can prop himself up on that pillow, and it doesn't matter anymore because we are not listening to him. Gen Zs. Let's start from Gen Zs. Gen Zs were fed up. They have seen what has happened from their parents to their siblings. They watched this government crumble. And we're saying that Gen Zs haven't said what they wanted, but they have. They've said they want Ruto out, number one. Number two, they've said they want corrupt politicians out. Number three, they're saying, like, they have already said what they want, but they're not going to, they haven't been heard. So if you're saying that there's no clear direction, there are certain things that need to be changed, that's a fact, but they have already said what they need, what their key issues are. And another thing is, like, fine, why are we sticking to this Gen Z thing? Like, this thing doesn't just affect Gen Zs, this affects all of us. We're still having people who, the people who want to go on the streets, let them go and let them keep going. Because you see, we can't all go to the streets. There are people who are gifted in different areas. There are people who can speak. Okay, we've been called to dialogue. Where? Which space? Okay, fine. Ignore the space part. But tell us. We will be meeting here, Gen Zs. We'll be taking minutes to address your issues. Call us, fine. You've called us for dialogue. Where? Tell us the time and the place. Let us show up. Let us actually address this, because we're still in a space where people are still feeling like hata nikiongea it won't change anything, and that's where we're stuck. And then people are
sorry, I've interjected. You can't say you're in the same place yet we don't have a cabinet because of what you've done. And those are strides you need to celebrate. Okay?
Yes, that I'm not denying that. I'm not doing that. What you haven't understood, what I've said is, no, David said people are losing hope. That's why we're seeing the numbers going down on the streets. But that doesn't
how
mean
do you keep
even
the
the
hope
people.
alive?
That's what I'm saying. We're now here, we're on spaces, and we're all discussing these things. But you see, the thing about one thing that is the problem is we're all expecting someone else to do it. We're all saying, okay, Gen Zs, you do this. Okay, oh, you guys, let's do this. No, why should it be other people? Like, fine, stand up and say, I will do it myself because I can see you guys are falling short in this area. Let me stand up and do it for you. We are faceless because anybody can take up the space. Anybody can stand up and say, okay, I have the issue today and I will speak it. Why are we expecting someone else to say it? Or why are we expecting it to be a Gen Z person to say, oh, the Gen Zs are falling short in this area?
I'm agreeing with you. Do you see what Andrew Kibe is doing? Do you see what Kibe has done? He has given your voice a platform. True?
Exactly.
Now, someone on the group said that yesterday a space was opened in Elgeyo Marakwet where the governor was in that space. Okay? Mm-hmm. So what are we doing? And I keep on saying, I know nothing is itching to talk, and I'll give once you finish, we can allow her. What you're doing is correct, and you are beginning to bear some fruits, okay? Because it has moved from a space to counties, okay? So there is progress. Mm-hmm. Now, how do we structure this progress to get to the heart that really changes the nation? Do you know where the heart of the nation is? It's in the cabinet. It is in the cabinet, and it is in how we shall vote in the next election, okay? Those are the progress. That is what you guys have achieved.
I agree with that. And I agree with that because right now, it's what we've achieved. And even moving forward, right now, at least we can see clearly if nothing changes. One thing we can see is the voting pattern moving forward, because now everybody has awoken to the fact that we can't keep electing people who will just give us stories or people who are not qualified, because moving forward, and I think that's why the cabinet should be shook if they're not shook by now, is because we're not going to tolerate any of their silly politics anymore. We really actually want people who are in place, who actually know our issues, and people who are actually educated enough or educated enough about the issue to handle the issue.
Mishi, how do we get that cabinet? I feel you guys have an opportunity to help shape the new cabinet. What I feel, and I'll tell you this, Gen Z started this. Kibe is not a Gen Z. He's not even a millennial. I am just guessing. But he's connecting with you. Okay? So how do we take all these voices and help change the narrative or shape the narrative of the Kenya we want? So how do we end up with this cabinet that we want? How do we get your voice, Naving's voice, Mariam's voice, Bluesam's voice to participate in the cabinet that forms the policies, the structure of how we live our everyday life? How do we pick that cabinet? That should be that should be the next conversation we are having. True or not true?
True. That's true.
Good. Now, Mariam, I'm not cutting you short. I want us to have a mixture, a boiling point of ideas. So I want to give Make. You guys have the most brilliant names. Make. Bluesam, just a minute. Make, unmute yourself. Then you give us your points. Then we'll come to Jem and Simon. Make, is it Make or Make? Unmute yourself, Uonge.
Makena.
McKenna, I think he's talking to you. Are you there?
It's Make. It's not Magetta. It's Make. McKenna, are you there, bro? We're waiting for you, Make. He's in his feelings. So maybe Mariam, you go ahead.
No, wait. One person can go ahead first because Anthony here is really confusing me. I'm a scatterbrain right now.
Okay.
Okay, Jem.
I think I'll go ahead.
Jem.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, thank you. You know, I want to, Bluesman, I'm right there with you. Like, I feel like on the same wavelength. I was watching the Explainer on Tuesday, and Yvonne was asking the panel, I think you remember, Kasmo was there, and Wanjira was there. And she asked them, what is next? And that seems to be the theme of the conversation today. And what I thought was, good question, but is it fair? I feel like what the questions you're raising, Anthony, it's a good question, but I feel like the effect is it's staggering the movement. Right now we have a kinetic energy, and the character of this protest from the get-go, it's been disorganized, and yet we've been able to achieve whatever we've been able to achieve. If someone left their home to go for the protest, it wasn't because it was a call to action. It's because I went to my parent, I asked them for money to go somewhere, and they couldn't afford it. Why? Because of the fiscal policies that are punishing them. We can't all sit at the table. And I personally, I feel like it's unfair to demand that of the youth. Because even if a kid complains that in their house the father is abusive, the mother is drinking, and they've not eaten, we will not now ask the kid, so how do you want this house to be managed? There are structures. Good governance is governed by structures. We have no faith in these people that are governing our country right now. So the government will survive. What we're saying is the people that are in those seats, let them sit down. I'll also go back to a speech that Raila made a couple of years ago, I think when he was Prime Minister. I can't remember the exact date. And he talked about puppeteers that mislead and derail the political agendas. So these politicians, they start clean, they start genuine, and then the puppeteers push for their own agendas. Personally, with the moves that this administration has been making, I believe that the government is crying for help. Maybe they're being misrailed or derailed. We've talked about the IMF. These are not secrets. And what we're doing as Kenyans is not unique as well. Yesterday I was watching Dirty Money, and I was looking at the story of Malaysia. People went to the streets, they applied pressure, I think the train of thought that we should follow is maybe we cannot go with radical conversations such as Ruto must go. Okay. But is it time yet to move to now choosing cabinet, choosing presidents? Personally, I don't think so. I think what we should focus on is unearthing and let's say, hold on, wait a minute. Have the people been held accountable for the crimes that they've committed? What else must we unearth? And in that pressure, let the cracks start. We've already seen them, the pressure, what it's doing, even in those lines. The pressure that people are being thrown under the bus. Let us continue applying pressure. And before we get to the second floor and start removing skeletons in other wardrobes, let them do the right thing. It's so funny that now the young people are telling the government, follow the law. That's ridiculous. It's despicable. I feel if we start now saying, let's have a conversation, we'll stagger that kinetic energy. Personally, those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Jim, you've raised some heavy points, valid points, that you're saying it's sad that today young people are telling the government what to do. I want to give you something to ponder about. When Shikuku started agitating for repeal of Section 2, he was a Gen Z of that time. So the movement, this discourse you're seeing has always been driven by the young. But I like what you're saying, that can we start dissecting this thing in terms of, if the discussion, if I'm saying what you mean, just give me a thumbs up. If the discussion is whether money was borrowed but it was not used, if it was stolen, tell us. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm saying let's continue unraveling this.
That makes sense.
Before we start the
Mariam.
Yeah, it's before we start. Okay. Yeah, before we start. Okay. And actually, just to add on to that, it's so funny that we're raising these questions because I've been in session for class since the beginning. I call it classes spaces, and at the beginning there were two speakers stood out to me. One guy came, I don't remember his name, and he was talking about these applications and platforms where information will be channeled towards. And I think that has been raised again today. Another girl came and she talked about data. I think data, just to add on to, when you're thinking about strategies and structures, is our best weapon. Whether he continues for a second term is beside the point, but the information must be collected for history's sake. Thank you.
Okay. Then I think, Mariam, if you've brought your thoughts together, you can jump in.
Hi, Anthony. I'm curious to know, just from your opinion, what are we agitating for right now?
We are agitating for a better Kenya. I've heard corruption is high on the list. Accountability is high on the list. Those two, to me, are primary, followed by employment. And I think lastly is that came out really strong is we need to restructure government to make it smaller.
Okay, that's I'm on that. I'm also on the same page. So according to you, what's the solution? Is it are we going through policies, or are we going through changing the whole government? Which direction are you looking at?
I think we need to change to both of them, policy and government. But for you to change policy, you need to change a big chunk of government. So the $1 million question is, how do we change government? Everyone you're seeing today in that space called leadership, from the president to the cabinet secretaries, they did not stumble to that position. They planned for it. So what I would be saying for us we need to do is we need to plan for the Kenya we know the Kenya we want. What I feel we lack is how do we get to the Kenya we want? So we get to the Kenya we want by changing the Kenya that we are currently in a surgical way. The way you cut one layer of skin by another layer of skin. And I said before you came in, I don't know whether you heard me, that the first thing we should have jumped on is the IBC. Once we're in the IBC, we say, hey, by the way, as you sit here, Mr. President, because by that time you report to him. When we are here, we the Gen Zs feel we are not getting IDs on time because we need to do some things with our IDs. Then from there push and say, as you pick your cabinet, which you dropped because we said we felt it was not competent, we also want our votes represented in that cabinet. There was already here Fatuma who said, IBC, there are 2 slots that are given to the public. We should have pushed for those slots to be us. Now, when it comes to cabinet, we should have also said, as you pick this cabinet, I am sure you guys, there's a 30-year-old who knows very good things about policy making. Let that person be in cabinet. So that we start changing the government in a surgical way. It's called the onion peel approach. In a surgical way. As we warm up to 2027. Because let me be very honest with you guys. No one wants to say this, but recalling a member of parliament is difficult, close to impossible. Recalling a president with the current constitution is impossible. We can only plan. We have to play the long game. We are trying to play the short game. We have to play the long game. That's how I feel change will come. I am happy Fatma is back, but that's what I feel is it. But before I yield, I would suggest we hear. I looked. It's
Mariam, I just asked for clarity because you see what I've noticed is that many of the people who are involved in this movement, when you ask them the what next question, for example, when you want to change the cabinet, what next, they don't have an answer to that question. They still want to rely on the same president to appoint another cabinet. When you talk about ejecting the president from that seat, then you're asked what next, then you don't have the answer to the what next. It's very complicated. And I think that's why you're finding even the normal Mwananchi who is 100% behind the movement and they 100% have the same sentiments that you have when it comes to change. They're getting confused because they realize that this is a vehicle that is moving without a driver. It gets very, very complicated to get into that vehicle because kuna destination unaona. So the next thing would be, even as you're talking about changing the whole government, man, I've been really scratching my head over this, what do we say, strategy. Yes, the spaces we are holding and the plans we are making, and when you say that we are going to do this and we are going to do that, we are doing it in the open, which is acceptable because that's the only way it can be done. That's the only way you can reach to the masses. But swali yangu ni, is it really possible to make such plans in front of your enemy? Because what I see is just them checkmating us all the time. That's what I just see. Even now, whether we like it or not, polisi wametufinya leo. That is reality. Leo mumefinywa proper, you cannot even move you can't even go to town because they checkmated you. They hear everything you're talking about. You guys, there's no strategy, no nothing, because you're literally planning in front of your enemy, and your enemy is of course going to make plans before you get there. So Anthony, that was my next question. Okay, I think I've actually done 2 questions in there. Is it really possible, unless it's a policy change, and you see if it's a policy change that you're seeking, then it means that it's as easy as people coming up with what do you call them? There's a word for that. You come back, recommendations. Yes, you come up with recommendations and then you get to the table and then you discuss with the president or whoever you need to discuss with on what you recommend would work for Kenya moving forward. But that is not happening because of trust issues. You not only don't trust the government, you even don't trust each other. We don't trust each other. So that's, again, another very complicated aspect of this movement. So, Anthony, yeah. Hey.
Madam, I think I get your question. I think I answer, then you come in, or ni Bluesman. So let me answer. Okay, Bluesman. Sorry, forgive me. Now let me answer, Maria. You see, and I'm happy, Mesema, we are planning and they are listening and they can always counter us. Let me tell you the one thing you can never counter, Mariam. It's an agitation of voices speaking in one tone, in one singular voice. Do you know why the finance bill dropped? Because we were all in unison speaking against the finance bill. Where I feel we lost momentum is Atukutua went to transition from the street to the table, which is where we are trying now to get. We are trying to get to the table. We still have a window. There's a carray of hope. Why? Because social spaces are still happening. And if people realize that wamefinywa kwenda town, they'll say, let's go back to how we began. We have planned. Let's go to a social space again and now agitate with a plan. Because before we came out leaderless, planless, and everything less. So much so that we were also planless. Now, Mariam, your hand is up.
Yes,
okay, let me just say.
And I won't even speak after this because I know you have many people who are waiting to speak. But I wanted to mention something regarding the finance bill. That's a very, very perfect example you're using, that we all are moving with one voice. We all had one agenda and we had so many people who are behind this agenda. Now, the danger of not having a person, a leader, or a person who is advising on strategy is that we were not able to have the foresight kuona that there was a budget that was already on the table, and number two, we had no way of shooting the president down from taking a loan when he considered the tax. So you see, that for me is like jumping from the frying pan to fire, and this is the danger of moving in a mob without having a driver. Unaelewa? Because Antonia, that me, I don't see it as a win. Let me not lie to you. Like in retrospect, I don't see it as a win. Because tungekuwa na dereva pale angetuambia unajua nini? Kulikuwa na bili ingine hapa yenye bado ishaikwa kwa table inafaa kufanywa review. This budget, things need to be literally legally scrapped off of this budget, because if you don't do that, it means that you will still pay for this money 10 years down the line because it's going to take a loan. Simple. So, Anthony, that is the danger of a vehicle moving without a driver. That's what I wanted to just say. And again, and for every Gen Z who is here, and when you're asked what next, you get offended, please don't get offended, because it's very important for you to be able to respond to that what next. Yeah, thank you, Anthony.
You see, Mariam, and that's why I'm saying there's a sliver of hope. Anytime a formation is coming up, there's always a leader who's kicked out because he doesn't have muscle. What is the muscle of a leader? It's people. Raila Odinga is in that table today because he commands close to 6 million votes. The reason they find it easier, and let me tell you right now, there's a leader somewhere scampering of how do I counter the Gen Z. And even if he's hearing me, I'll tell you the truth. Once you get him to the table, you can tell him, Mister, we all want to go to Canaan, you included. Now we are going to Canaan together. You know, we must agree as a movement that we need to form synergy and partnerships. Julius Malema thought he could take over South Africa with the EFF. You know, to hell with Jacob Zuma, to hell with this other guy who runs the White Party. Jacob Zuma kept quiet, came back, wiped the floor with Julius Malema. Today, he's the second biggest party. But do you know what Rambo Becky did? He partnered with the white guy. That's what I'm telling Gen Zs today. I might be the devil's advocate. I might be saying what you don't want to hear, like when you ask what next and you get angry. I'm a millennial myself. But Kibe is here, and Mariam has asked a very good question. How do we get back into the momentum? You see, among us, the followers of Kibe, there's a politician who in there who wants relevance. And we are the relevance he can get. It's us. It's the 1,000 people here. That is what Tony Gashoka is doing. He's trying to get relevance. Tony Gashoka wants to go and say, hey, Mr. Agwambo, do you see me on Spaces? Do you know a commander follow me? Now, all we need to do is identify our true levels. Now, yes, even if they don't know who we shall have picked. But until we get back and realize Ruto became president, Uhuru became president, Kibaki became president, Daniel Toroitich arap Moi became president, Jomo Kenyatta became president, because at one point they realized fighting with brute force will always lose to someone who's fighting you with his mind, with his brains. And what did they do? They looked for an opportunity in a person. Moi saw the opportunity, Kenyatta saw the opportunity in Moi and joined KADU. That's how he ended up getting the Kalendings. Okay? We need to identify who, among us, the people, and I'll use Kibe again because he's here, and anyone here who has a leader, who has a toe inside government, we take that toe of this and push ourselves in. You know, have you ever heard this thing of the Arab and the camel? We push ourselves in and say, now there's one of you and 7 million of us. You've brought us to Canaan. You are Moses. You've seen the promised land, but you're not getting. So your work is done. Hongera kwako. Now we move on. Because even if we saw Canaan, he got some gains. But we need a Moses. We need to figure it out. We need a Moses, man. If Kibe is that Moses who has that guy on us, who's yearning for relevance, and he's the one who has the stick that will separate the Red Sea for us. If we do not identify a Moses very quickly, you will realize that the president has a multitude of Maandamano people called the GSU, the Kenya Police, the Kenya Army, the Navy, and very soon, plus hired goons, they will turn on us. And people will get fatigued. Guys, you have a wonderful movement. Those are my submission. I'm seeing so many hands up. I think I've said something wrong.
Anthony, no, Anthony, and I'd like McKenna is finally here. This is something that I was talking to Kibe about. I think was it yesterday or the day before? Before yesterday. You know, it will a point whereby Anthony, you must have a group of like-minded people. So this we thing, who is we? Because at the end of the day, if you're relying on these other people to be on the same page with you, it's not going to happen. That's what I was telling Kibe, that, you know, it's good to come up with what you think is your, I don't want to call it agenda, but things that you think need to be pushed to the government for them to change. Because kitu umesema ya ukweli sana hapa na ni kitu yenye watu wengi wanakataa kukubali, is that kuondoa MP ama president kwa kiti ni kitu ingine ita take another 3 years whether we like it or not. It's a process that is not going to be that easy. So it will be very important, Anthony, at some point for like-minded people to come together, okay, and form a group or a movement or a faction that will actually push for change with a leader, with a driver on that seat. So thank you, Anthony. That makes a lot of sense.
Actually, let me tell you something, Mariam. You see, those like-minded people you're talking about are in this space. We started this space in the morning. It's 4 p.m. We spent a day on one platform because we agree with each other. So what we simply need to do is say, if Kibe is the host, we're in his house. Kibe, look for someone who you can get out. You know, if Kibe was able to trace Sonko, look for someone who you can host, who has a platform, and then we discuss these things now. Because we cannot be discussing amongst ourselves. We are not in government. We are not in the ministries. We are not in a state house. We are nowhere. We are simply floating around in this country called Kenya. So we need someone who can say, unajua ni aje, kesho nitawaletea msee fulani kwa hii group. So that we start gaining ground strategically. And very soon, we shall be 20,000 people, 30,000 people having a structured conversation. That's how we got here. That's how we dropped the finance bill. We were thousands of us in a structured manner with a common goal. And Kimozi, someone somewhere in Israel and whoever, were able to bring Kenyans around an idea. It shows you that Kenyans can rally behind an idea that is well structured, that is well planned, that has a conclusive end game. That is what I'm asking for. And from where I sit, Mariam, Kibe, right now, no one here has the following he has. You know, if Kibe wanted to bring Sakade into this space, I'm sure he can. If Kibe wanted to bring in Murkomen, he can. Because I know what he's capable of. I keep on saying this because I know him. You know, I know the spaces and the background he has worked in. He knows these people. I don't want to take much. I'm seeing Fatuma's hand is up. And we are getting somewhere because the fact that people like nothing, I think you need to change your handle. You know, when I say people like nothing, and me, and Kibe, and Mariam, and Mariam are all agreeing that we had a good movement, we had a good goal, but somewhere we lost our foot, and we acknowledge we lost our foot, and we are asking you out there, how do we get back so that we build the Kenya that we want? That is what I call progress. You know, the fact that someone is saying someone in Elgeyo Marakwet, they had a space with their governor. So how do we have spaces with all governors? That is the Kenya we want. If we can't change the president, we can change how our governors view us. We can change how our MPs view us. These people have learned that leadership is you serve people. Anyway, guys, I don't want to preach, but I think I've made my point. Fatima, someone else can pick.
Okay, I'm speaking right now. So, what I was saying, okay, kuna mwenye aliuliza kama tuta make any progress, but there was this idea ya kusalimia waheshimiwa. Okay, not necessarily mambo ya violence, but making them know that we are aware of all the evil deeds that you do, and we won't condone that. Like, hiyo kitu, because ni kama kuna venye tulisalimia president, tukamwambia manze story ya kupea bibi yako an office na expenditure ingine kubwa atupendi, na kuna venye alisikia. So basically, as a whole hiyo story ya kusalimia waheshimiwa, like ku point out every day is already a progress yenye, na unajua tuta create hadi awareness to anyone who is vying. Anajua vizuri anytime ata misbehave atajipata pabaya sana. Again, kwenda kwa tebo, I think now wacha tu nikupe idea now from now nikikuja side yako, though kuna venye siko hiyo side sana. Kuna venye ujenzi walisema ukijitokeza kama leader wetu sisi hatukutambui, but kama utajitokeza sasa, that's me saying not them. Kama utajitokeza, kama ni kuongea, hold discussion in a public place, like venye mkidiscuss na hiyo prezo tunasikia, because amwendi pale kuongea ati kama umekuwa party ya hiyo kama party ya hiyo genge yao. Okay, tunaweza ku appreciate hata kama atusemi wewe ni leader wetu, basically tunakuona na tunaona yenyewe una advocate. Kama ukidiscuss na upeleke idea yetu, na hiyo idea yetu iende mbele, na see it not fooling us like they do, iende mbele na ilete some changes, of course tunaweza kupea kura basi. But kama unaenda pale, like you saw so many people walikuwa nasimama wanatoa speech ati we are the new leaders, watu wanasema hiyo ni ufala, because tukifuatilia maybe these people ni marafiki wao wase, okay, wengine like they can't be trusted, wanataka maybe handshake like you saw. But kama uko genuine na wewe ni leader, maybe kama unataka maybe kusema now today I want to present the will of Gen Z, hata kama hatujasema tumeku appoint, but basically tutakunini utapata maybe kura zako, utapata inaitwa nini, relevance yako naturally tu. So venye tu nasikia tu wase wakisema leaders watajitokeza tu automatically, that is so natural. Yeah.
Can I say something?
Yes, you can.
I thank you for the opportunity. I told Kibe yesterday on text to hold his ground. It will definitely pay off. Finally, I'm persuaded by Anthony, though I think, like Mariam said, I think you're throwing that in too many directions, because when I joined in, I heard you say that we need direction on what next, okay? But I don't think the what next here is about it's not about having the governors on board. Whether they come hear you or they don't, most of those people are very selfish and they may not change anything. Again, allow me to say, the president might, at the same time, he has a crisis to deal with and a country to run. So what do we do in the meantime? Let's now align our ducks. We say, fine, we know the way forward, because it's not true that when people are asked what next, they don't know what next. People are afraid of taking responsibility. But in other forums, the clarity on where we want to go, the Kenya we want, is crystal clear. So about what next? That is what I was saying. So the mess in agriculture, and I'm thinking, if we look too far behind, because this is not just President Ruto's mess. This is a mess of every sitting president, including Mwai Kibaki. So if we track backward too far, we might lose the course, because the end goal is to improve the governance in this nation. So because we have been looking at different budget, including Kibaki, it was not that clean man you guys assume he is, and I think it comes with the office. But at least he did something. So where do we go from here? Let's agree. We can pick up, because it doesn't make sense to bring in, we're not trying to listen to governance. We are trying to change our politics and our governance to issue. Today, for this hours, let's talk about agriculture. Where the issues on agriculture? We highlight, in fact, allow me to ask a silly question. Is it possible to do PowerPoint presentation on this? Because for me, whatever I want to present, I have my PowerPoint from back, I think in 2020 during COVID. Now, we can decide, instead of asking someone, and I like that a lot of people are persuaded. Let's talk about, we can decide, Kibe can highlight, because he's the person we've chosen to trust with the guidance. In the meantime, we don't want governors on the table. If they come in, they come as listeners. We know what we want. Then let's bring the president to the conversation. We say,
And then they came with this Simia Jamii, where it was like a mobile thing that was just somebody would set it up somewhere and you guys would line up wherever they set it up. And now that was the technology of the future, my guy. Woo! What the mobile phone came? Oh, we can never get better than a 3310. We couldn't get better than a 3310. Oh, nowadays we are thinking of Neuralink. So the whole idea here is like the old way of doing politics and the new way of doing politics. So the old way of doing politics is going to die with their old politicians and their old constituency. Because what you know as the village is going to change very soon. In the next maybe 30, 40 years, there'll be no village. It will just be, Kenya. The people in the village would have died out. All that nonsense would have died out with them. So the politician will have nobody to go talk to that way because everything now is on the internet. So even right now, when we are thinking of bringing anybody to talk to, we are thinking of what? Bringing them to a platform like this one. There's no more going back to the ground. Who wants to go back to the ground? I want to be involved no matter where I am. My voice matters. It doesn't matter where I am. I can do it from anywhere. Isn't that what the diaspora has proved to us with this movement? When the diaspora sent money from everywhere and they were like, hey, whatever you guys need, just tell us. We got you. So the power of the movement is for it to remain here. It has to remain here where they don't have power. You take it to their ground, bro, they will beat you with experience. But here they don't know how to do this shit. So if you move it from here and now you want to build something else out of it, then now that becomes their forte. That's why I told you guys, everything that we're discussing has to be here. It has to be planned here. It has to be executed here. Whether you Kitney or Dekni. Anyway, let's bring in who was coming next after Leroy. I guess nobody. Right, so I'll have to pick Maria.
No, well, it's funny, but I was going to comment on Leroy, and then I was like, maybe it's gonna just be a useless submission because Leroy is one of the people who's so comfortable with the state of affairs in Kenya, including the finance bill. He was very comfortable. So listening to him speak, I'm like, it's like sheep taking advice from a wolf. It doesn't make sense. But to you, Kibe, I had a question for you earlier when you spoke about Robert Alai. I was wondering, when things were very hot, and especially when guys were doing the demos just before the breaking into parliament, there are very many, not many, there are few politicians who are on Gen Z side, as you mentioned earlier. Alai seemingly was on that side, Babowino, there was Sifuna, of course there's someone like Salasia. So my question to you is, and I remember everyone who tried to show their support for Gen Z was shot down by, we don't want any politician, we are leaderless, we don't want any politicians in this thing, My question, Kibe, is this. Do you think that at that point, these people were useful to the movement? Do you think that if at that point people embraced them, they would have been able to make quick progress towards the direction that they're agitating to head to? Or do you think that at some point these leaders, I'm just calling them leaders loosely at this point, they would have realized that they were also in danger. Their status quo was also in danger, and they would have dumped the movement midway and actually compromised it. What's your thought on that, Kibe? It's just purely your thoughts.
I think that time it was full survival mode. So whoever was going to offer you the best possible way to survive, you were flowing with them. So it wasn't really about loyalty. It was just about who am I going to survive with. So the pressure was so much that everybody was scared. And everybody was like, hey, I'd rather go with the Gen Z and make my apologies later. I'm sure that's what Jalango is doing till today. He's probably still shining anaitwaje viatu za William Samoei Ruto. Bana, hey, mkubwa, I will shine these shoes until you forgive me. I mean, that's what everybody did. Because the movement was that strong for that short period of time. So there was nobody who was coming to bring in anything. The movement had taken off. Nobody was coming to bring in anything. So everybody was just hanging on, hey, for survival. It had nothing to do with we will give you structure or whatever. What structure are they bringing? If you think about it, these are system products. Think about someone like Babu Owino. Babu Owino, from the time he was in campus, he knew where he was going. He's a career politician. Same thing with Sifuna. These are career politicians. They go into campus knowing they want to be politicians. What are the way you go into campus not knowing what you want to be? These guys already know what they want to be. They are really, their trajectory is that. I remember when I was interviewing Babu Owino and I tried to put him in a corner with the story of the revolution, because he was the first person who talked about it. He said, this country is ripe for a revolution. And I asked him, oh, what type of revolution? He said, it can be any type of revolution. And he went down the list of revolutions and I was like, shit, I almost got you there. But these guys, their work is to politic. So when they get into a space, they will make that space their own. So that one day they can deliver these people to their master. These people are like policemen. They are sent out in the morning, go collect as many people as you can, make sure you bring that shit to me. That's why when they go somewhere and they know this group of people here are young, let's throw Babu Owino to them. When they know these are Kikuyus who like hearing these funny, dirty stories, they say, hey, Moses Kuria, oka. I mean, it's a game, my guy. So these guys, if they came in, they would have just spoiled everything. So it was a good thing that they didn't. It was a good thing that it went the way it went, actually, if you ask me. All right, thank you, Mariam, for your very... whenever Mariam asks you a question, you have to be very careful. I don't know what this bitch wants.
No, that's a very good that's a very good response, because I was going to ask you, when you were interviewing Babu, did you feel that hunger in him that Ruto had for the presidency? Because I've been very curious. Do you think that he's hungry enough to go against everything that we think he stands for? That is, of course, Baba. I was actually heading there, but what you said is very profound. Yeah, something to think about.
And I don't want you guys to think that these guys are losing sleep, thinking of how they'll make the country better. No, this is a career for them. It's a career just like wrestling, just like you, a career. Because even you, if you're baking, you're not in bed thinking of baking. This is just a career. These guys have an on and off switch. They switch on that guy who's supposed to give that speech to the people. That guy doesn't exist in the car. In the car, they're busy talking about other things. But as soon as that guy is needed, even McKenna has that guy inside him. If you give McKenna 5 minutes just now, and you tell him, McKenna, say something to these people, he will switch on that guy. You'll see a politician in him immediately. So this is what I think the Gen Z have been able to read. And they can say, we can read through you. We can see your game. Because on this side, we know what clout looks like. We're able to look at the video. We're able to compare these two videos. We're able to, you see, at least they have a lot of information that they can use. People in Sharks don't have this information. And they don't have time to even decipher that information. And most of this information, they'll even say it's a lie. I'd argue and they forget that story. Anyway, where are we going? Maria, go ahead.
First, I would like to say that I disagree with Leroy on so many things, but I won't get to them because I'll forget what I wanted to say. I just need to make my final submissions and then you can drop me. Today I'm gonna sleep happy because finally we are on we talk with one voice that now we agree this movement needs some form of legal recognition, so that we can engage formally with every other stakeholder that is dangling things on top of our heads that we're not really able to reach for. And it's good that we now agree that, kifua imetuleta this far. Anger brought us this far, but it can't take us further than where we are. We need to change direction. We need to, embrace this thing of a formal recognition. And what does that look like for me? For me, one, it looks like either we decide whether we're going to be do a political party, which in my opinion, contradicts every reason I joined the movement and went to the streets, because I didn't do this for any political interest. I just did it on pure accountability and justice and the fight on corruption. The second thing we can do is decide whether we're going to do a CBO, that is a community-based organization, and an earlier speaker mentioned something about that, and it got me to thinking that once we have these small community CBOs, we can tap into these people that politicians like Raila na kina Murkomen are resorting to uko mashinani, wakienda wakisema si wanajua kura iko huko. They go talk to, they've started amassing followings already qua ground. So once we have CBOs in our constituencies, in our wards, at least we'll get those communities on board on what is going on, because honestly speaking, the movement is a town affair, it's a city affair, but we need to take it to mashinani. And the third one, I've forgotten the third one, but now you can go ahead and drop me. I love the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Appreciate you coming through. Metros KE.
Okay, Mr. Kibe, thank you very much. This is the second time that you have hosted me, and I really appreciate. So, I would like just to talk talking about the CBO. The sister has just talked about. I don't know if, because right now the movement has taken a new phase, and which is a very encouraging thing, and the new phase of recognition. As I don't know how it's going to be, if it's going to be an official political formation, which is also very okay. But I would like us to also focus on the local units of administration, which is our counties. And I don't know if mine is just as a suggestion. If we are going to that table of negotiation with the leadership, because right now we have seen the price of any movement, any revolution, the casualties. Now that one we have to accept. But now moving forward, can we have, like I said, it's a suggestion, can we have, we narrow down to what really we want for those who shall be going to that negotiation. We narrow down what we want, especially in the county level, where we can say that because at this time we have actually, we have a clout, we have a quorum. Can we say that we want something like a referendum to touch on the county governments, because we know where we have damage, a very big damage to our economy is the county governments. We can even say that we would like how we want that devolution to be structured. And I'm very sure that any Kenyan or any taxpayer right now, because we are all affected, whether we are Gen Z or Gen X, we are all affected. Now, can we have a situation where we can say, what we want now as the the county governments to be structured in a way that the wanton wastage of our funds can be contained, because we agree that that is where we have a very big problem. I'm not going to say how how that discussion is going because I know that it's a very emotive topic when it comes to county governments. Raila Odinga said that we need a radical surgery in a form of conversation as a country. But at the same time, we know that Raila himself has got some governors in his pockets. So in the spirit, if he has pure intentions and in the spirit of national healing and dialogue, can we even have him accept that if we are going to have a referendum and our referendum is going to touch on county governments, whether we reduce those county governments or we eradicate some of these positions, because that is where we have a lot of corruption. Can he accept, because he has always had this tag that he's the one who brought revolution. Okay, we give him credit for that, but can he accept our voice if we say that we want a radical change or a radical surgery in the county governments, because that is where a lot of money has been lost? Can we have, if we say that we want reduction of these counties, or we want reduction of some of these offices in the counties, because that is where a lot of money goes, he should come on board and accept, so that together we can contain this, because the devolution is also another dragon of corruption. We all know that. So as we go into those talks, let us also have our own agenda, perhaps an agenda like touching especially the county governments, because at this point we have the goodwill of government and it is ready to listen. And if it is ready to listen, let us also have this agenda of ours as one of the things that we are going to be talking about. I don't know what they are prepared to talk about, the leadership of the Gen Z and this movement, but I would just suggest that that one be part of it. That is my time. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Metros. Appreciate that. Mmesikia. Nani nataka kupatiana any other final submission? We've been here too long. Fatuma, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Kibe, and I'm glad you're back. I was in the spaces in the morning and then I left and I came back and we're still talking. My question to you is, when are we going to walk the talk? And I feel today we are heading in the right direction. We are asking ourselves the what next question, which we were so scared of. And my thoughts are aligned towards picking the low-hanging fruits and having targets, weekly targets, and acting on those points. For instance, if the Gen Zs are not registered as voters, what can we do to register and register in masses? The 7 million voters, it will just be a talk if we don't register as voters and act on them. Recalling an MP is something that is literally impossible as per the constitution and also other laws that they have put in place, because they know their game and they know how to do this thing. For us, taking action, we have been on the streets, they have listened. We are still on the streets, but now we are a bit confused on even what we are demanding for others now. So there are things that we need to do as SAP, and I mentioned this in the morning, I will repeat again. We need to have goals which are time framed. I know the Gen Zs might not want to hear this, but in short term, what can we do? In medium term, what can we do? In long term, what can we do? There are things we can achieve like as soon as yesterday, and there are things that need to wait. For instance, if you look at the IEBC commissioners, we need to demand for our positions to be commissioners. And this is doable because Ruto is already listening. And the fact that he's listening, if you make demands now, then you're going to get those positions. But my question to you, Kibe, and to the rest of the listeners is, who is going to take those positions if the Gen Zs are not ready to take a seat at the table? If there'll be a vacuum, others will step in. And we need to take care of that as soon as possible, taking our positions and taking them seriously. The next thing for me is looking at how do we deal with these members of parliament. We need to decentralize the movement from the city to the villages. These villages might disappear, but what we have now are those villages, to the constituencies, all the way to the ward level. We can do social accountability. And to do social accountability, you don't need any training. Most of the projects which have been done on the ground, costs have been doubled, tripled, even in some cases. And if you do social accountability, is to go from, in those wards, in those manyatas, in those villages, and hold the members of parliament accountable, hold the governors accountable, hold the president accountable, hold the people who are going to be nominated to be ministers, the CSs accountable. But before even once the nomination is done, it's already over. So how do we push the young generation to be part of this leadership? The time is now, it's not tomorrow. And I feel if we sleep on the job now, others will step into our spaces. They will take over what is meant to be for us, what we fought for. And it's us who will lose, because we've already lost a lot of young people. 50 is not a small number. And the ones who have disappeared are more. More and more dead bodies are being discovered every day, day in, day out. There is a lot of trauma. People have never seen death. Now they have seen people dying. You're dealing with that trauma. There is a lot of confusion now among the Gen Zs, because they least expected they'll face live bullets. They have faced live bullets now. How do we deal with this trauma? How do we deal with the families who have lost their own? Things are not the same. Life will not be the same for them. How do we deal with that? The movement cannot wait. The movement has to go on, but we need to sit at the table, at the same time be on the street. You cannot just be on the street and say we are leaderless, we are tribeless, we are partyless. That kind of conversation, I think, cannot hold water anymore. We need leadership, and this leadership has to be very clear. There are spaces that are available for us to step in, and we need to step up our game. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Fatuma. Thank you for coming through. I don't know whether Nothing, Ke, you have anything you want to say?
Maybe I'll start by thanking you again for giving us the opportunity to rethink. What she said is very true. We are very traumatized. We are wounded, but at the same time, looks like we have to pull ourselves with our bootstrap forward. And I think this feels like a safe place for us to do that. So moving forward, I think when we gather, it will no longer be about where we have been staggering or holding back, because we were holding our cards to our chest, but we will present forward. I don't know whether it's possible to do PowerPoint. I will look into that, but we will come back with tangible. And again, I want to thank everyone who has cared to listen. I thank you immensely, Kibe, for what you're doing. Keep doing it. It will not be in vain in the end. Maybe, and this has been a culture, a lot of people forget, but be sure some of a lot of people are bringing different knowledge. A lot of people are coming from different background and knowledge. So in whatever that needs to be done, I believe we can move forward together. Apart from just complaining what is happening in the country, we can look into opportunities available for young people, even as we are agitating, and everyone else. Every Kenyan deserves an opportunity. As we are agitating, we will come back with information on, I think we need to look into this direction. I can make you a buck or two as we move forward. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Nothing, Ke. Mariam, do you have anything you want to say before I give it to Anthony?
Yeah, I think I'm looking forward to Let's Talk More Work. It's a challenge to you, Kibe. So Yes, I'm here to watch this space.
Well,
Thank you so much.
but now that you're just throwing that on me, I've been thinking about this challenge that everybody keeps giving me a challenge. It is a challenge to you. What challenge is this? What do we have? There's a movie I watched one time. These guys are
Chosen.
Huh?
Chosen. Some things don't have to be said. You just feel the vibration.
I feel the vibrations here. Anyway, Mariam, thank you, Mariam, for whatever. You've been saved by nothing, KE. I swear. I was going to go. God bless your little heart. Anthony, go ahead. Oh, Anthony, I can't hear you. Can you drop off and come back? Quickly. So, it is clear that there's a decision that has to be made today. It's very clear that we must make a decision today. Or rather, let me not say we must make a decision has to be made today. The first thing that we do is let's try that meeting again. Let's try that meeting one more time. Let's try that meeting one more time. I think it would be a better idea if we do the meeting. I'm trying to get, okay, I've removed you, Anthony, then try and come back quickly. You see. Yeah, so the idea here will be let's bring together everybody who we think at this juncture has had a voice that we can use. So let's bring all those people on a table somewhere. And now we can come up with an agenda from that point. So the agenda right now is to bring people together. Because without bringing people together, there's nothing we're doing. Even though you go say you want to register your own platform or your own whatever, all those things mean nothing unless people can agree to walk and work together. What do you think, James?
Yo, what's up? It's nice to see that you're still pushing, which is dope. I remember last time when we tried to have the meeting, the backlash was crazy, but at least there are people who responded. So it's true. It's like we should be walking the talk. I've noticed there's a very big lack of, let's say, taking responsibility from people and lack of trust. So because of that, we've already engaged some guys to have a virtual Kenya where we can discuss these issues from the ward level, and the system can automatically pick up the problems and solutions that people are coming up with. So I think the meeting should happen. Let's keep pushing for it. And then from that perspective, if we are moving in one direction, we'll be able to make more progress. We'll be able, because huko mashinani kusema ukweli, what you're saying, the narrative is not the same. A lot of education has to be done. And this education can't be done through social media only and just being here online. A lot of planning needs to be done. So let's shoot for that meeting again. Let's shoot for it.
Thank you, James. Anthony, are you back?
Yeah. Am I audible now?
You're good.
Good. Kibe, thank you for hosting the space. I think the take home for me, a lady asked a very good question. Do we form a political party? Do we form a movement? Do we go the Fatuma way where she has a social network? I would go the movement way. Something like Black Lives Matter. They are not a political party, but they have a very big sway on how the black voice in America is heard. then if we work, if we build our structure that way, because that way we shall be operating amongst ourselves. So there will be no fear of someone will be bought or anything, because this someone will be going to the table and coming back to us. And that to me is the question. So I'm just saying, for me, I would go the movement way or the Mariam way, where she has, I think they have been called CO. What have they been called? Those, it's like an NGO thing. And then we see whether in that space that we shall be in, whether it's a movement or, because I think right now, for me, a movement is the best way, because Atul is not a registered party. He only represents a movement of workers. You get, but he has a say. KPDU is not a political party, but it represents workers. So can we think of forming or registering this Gen Z thing? Then within that space, if we find we can trust each other enough to agitate for the Kenya we want, to send the people to parliament, the people we want, that we can be able to endorse, like they do it in the US. Firefighters have endorsed this person. You know, that we shall be able to change this country into what we want without necessarily forming a political party. I think those are my parting shots for now. But sure, we need another talking space. That's it, Kibe.
All right, thank you, Anthony. Those are good ideas. Especially when you mentioned Atwoli, I was like, yeah, when you think about it, what has Atwoli been running this whole time? What is Kotu? Oliver Muyela Aswani, how are you?
Kibe. Mr. Cretin himself, fiti sana.
Niaje sniper?
Fiti.
Unasemaje? Hebu just change story haraka vile nimeona umeka mbio.
Quick fast. So my thought is we need to have an agenda that we are aspiring to, and what people are saying, the Kenya we want. You remember as Mayor Mwangi had the Nairobi we want. So we need to be very clear, what sort of Kenya do we want? And by now having conversation about what sort of Kenya we want, those conversations can lead to the referendum questions. Remember also how we had yes and no? This Kenya we want discussion would give us the referendum questions. Then out of this referendum question, as we pitch and sell the referendum and push people to vote for the Kenya we want, the things we want, the things we don't want, out of this, I imagine then the political formations will form themselves. People will gravitate to certain things. Then you might find now the people who are aspiring to become politicians, the people who are aspiring to become leaders for different causes, can then identify themselves at that point. Then, because this, I think if we get the Kenya we want and we vote for it, we probably will go into an election with a different expectation. So then the people who are willing now to take political leadership can find themselves a space from that point. So first of all, you call this meeting that you're calling and say, what is it that we want or what is it that we don't want? Because it is two things. There's certain things that we want to happen. There's certain things that we want to stop happening. Against this, we say this will be our agenda, a referendum agenda. We push for that. Out of this, then you will find people who are just now, the natural leaders will take shape, the political organizers will take shape, the political outfits will take shape. We'll now start identifying who is who. But for now, let us have a solid, like a very unified conversation that will drive Kenya to where we want.
Nothing.
Allow me to ask, now that we have decided the direction we want to take, can we put in money to get this registration going? Because that's what even at school we've been doing. When it was time to contribute money for the wounded, we put our money where our heads are. So if you think this is the direction we should take, then we can put money. We just don't put the responsibility on one person, so that we move in a particular direction.
Thoughts, gentlemen? Anybody has thoughts? And I don't know whether yeah, Tony, I just don't know why. Through this whole movement, I felt like the ladies were more assertive than us. Did you feel that? Did you feel like the ladies had more of the up and go than us? Like they were more, let's get it done, let's do it, let's go to the streets, let's do it. And I'm like, hey! Ama mimi naongelesha Gen X peke yake.
Kibe, you are absolutely, but then what you said is the truth. You know, you enter a space with ladies where women are the major contributors, and they don't spew insults. You know, they have an agenda. They have not a goal. They have a goal. Now you enter the same space with men, and there's a lot of, I don't want to say those words. You know, there's a lot of fuck you. You know what I mean? You know, I've been fucking. I'm like, you know, I was in one of those spaces. I just opted out because, okay, now that you've shown us how vulgar you can be, what next? And I'm happy what you're saying is true. But now, just to go to what nothing has been saying, the reason guys were able to do a show, a concert in, was it Uhuru Park? That is now what we should be doing. Like what Kibe you were saying, it's time we start setting the agenda. We say we are meeting, we are not violent, we are just meeting to say this is what we want, to give civic education. You know, we have to learn to, when you are asking for a space that you have to get a permit for, you must use the right language. So we go and say, and the reason Mombasa was denied is because they were using Kifua. They didn't realize space ya Kifua imeisha. So someone goes and says, we want to have civic education. Someone will ask, what civic education do you want to have? We want to talk about this in an artistic way. You get, because Kibe, what we are saying here in this space makes a lot of sense. We are saying, how do we take civic education to mashinani? No one is going to fight you for taking civic education. But someone is going to fight you if you are coming to say whatever you are agitating for is to destabilize me right now. I think we need to be, there's something Kibe you said, that guys have been playing a game. Akina Jalango came to this space to play a game. I don't know whether they're in these spaces, but I'm going to say it regardless. It's time we also start playing the game. And it's a game of chess. Tuache kucheza, inaitangwaje, ile wacha chess, there's another game that looks like chess, but is not chess. So let's start playing that game because we need to win. We at Twezi, I've finished, Kibe. I will be repeating myself. Those are my submissions.
Yeah. James, just close it up for us. Close it up for us. Let that be the last thing that we say today. We've said a lot of things, including Oliver. I've not talked to Oliver for I don't know how long, and he's here. There. Hii mnakaa imekugusa sana mno. Wanaume wacha niwaambie kitu James before hata uongee because hata nilikuwa nishashikwa na jazba. Let me tell you gentlemen, unless we agree on how we're going to work together, and that has to be it. Who are we working with? Who are we working with? Who are we going with? So this is our homework today. By tomorrow, we should have a list of the people we are going with. We are going out of Egypt. And who are we taking? There has to be that list. Because we can't wait for these people forever. Because then they're building their political careers. You can see they're already doing that. So what want to build political career pole our kingoja 2027. Sisi, we have to build our country now. So the first order of business, let's bring as many people who are of like mind as possible. Then the agenda will come from that grouping. Hapo the agenda itatoka. Direction pali hiki tunaenda, everything will come from that grouping. And then once that grouping is there, everybody who's here, you must put your weight behind that group of people. Financially, spiritually, if you're a girl of prayer, whatever it is that you have to do, make sure you do it. 300 people are enough. Bro, 300 people are enough to change a country. You don't need 3,000, 30,000. No, those are too many numbers. Who are all those people? 300 people who are thinking the same thing. Woo! Those numbers are dangerous. All right, James, are you ready?
Yeah, to add on to what you're saying and what Anto was saying, like with the strategies of playing the game and beating them at their own game as we set our own game. First, a question, this meeting of like minds, when is it being set for? And then also, with that meeting, at least we can be able to have one direction. Like people can be able to plan various ways and methods that we can do the civic education, be it concerts, road shows, campaigns. The people who plan campaigns for corporates are people who are just here. So it's the same minds, but we will apply them now for the betterment of the nation. So it's just like even organizing sports tournaments, we can come up with so many methods and budgets attached to that. And we can also have the unified account, which we're going to back it up with our finances. So I guess the question now becomes, when are we shooting for the next meeting? It was nice last time when you called for the meeting, Kasamuel showed up, and I'm seeing media really liking to call him. So just call him for the next meeting. I think we can also leverage on that airplay that he's getting. So when are we looking at to have the meeting?
Tomorrow, Friday evening? Friday evening is a good time to, I don't know whether people go out. What do you guys do on Friday evenings? You go out to party or, I know Oliver will be at home, so Friday evening works very well for him. Yeah, we can do tomorrow. Let's do tomorrow. So let's and maybe James, you can take some of this responsibility off me. Let's get that list together. Let's also get as many people from TikTok and these other platforms as possible. Let's try have another meeting. Why not? If at first you don't succeed, try again. Is that okay, James?
Easy.
You do that for me, then we can, let's shoot for tomorrow, same time, 8 p.m. at night. So we can have our morning show. Then kesho jioni, we can have now the show where all these people can come around. And we can see if we could have our first, interdenominational meeting, interspace meeting, interplatform meeting, intersocialite meeting, inter-influencer meeting. Nawaambia musikie vile nawaambia na musikie vizuri. The internet is a constituency on its own. These people do not have the pull for it. Okay, they don't. That's why today you're seeing them taking akina Aldinur and Fat Gaido. Because they are intruding into the internet, into this side of things. So now they're coming to intimidate us with this old way of doing things, because here they cannot stop us from saying what we want to say. They cannot stop us from posting what we want to post. Wakilemewa wanazima internet. So this side, they don't have this side. So we still have a lot of leverage. Do not go dying on me now. We still have a lot of leverage. They don't know how to operate on this side. And the first, you saw even someone like Dennis Itumbi. Dennis Itumbi was a beast on the internet. The moment he joined Gava, that beast died immediately. Immediately. That's what happens. So do not worry. We are still winning on this side. We are doing very well. Yeah, they don't know how to deal with us. So it's not panic time. Yes, James, bado nataka tuongee tu.
Swali moja, kama kuna designer like kwa hii group mwenye ako on this agenda anaweza side chat ndio atusaidie ndio tufanye ile any speaker mwenye ameconfirm tunafanya poster yake atakuwa kwa hii space nini like si unajua hizo marketing things.
Do it, man. If you're a designer, jump on this and talk to James. Ingia kwa inbox yake. Let me inbox you, James. Is your inbox open?
Yeah. Okay, Kibe, as you're sending to James, I'm happy, James, welcome. I'm happy that sasa tunaanza kupick our strengths. Tuko na graphic designer, tuko na nini. So that now we shift this discussion and we set the narrative. Venye Kibe ulikuwa unasema from the beginning. Thank you.
Kabisa. That's how we have to do it. So we have to move from talking to doing. Now we have James handling that. James, I've sent you an inbox, so you can now inbox me when you're ready. Tomorrow evening, 8 p.m., tag them on the posters. Whoever has been tagged, just tell them, hey, you just come and have a sit down. It's just a simple sit down. Hapa hakuna mdosi wa mtu, hakuna mtu ati leader. Hapana, mimi naona tu mwanya, na hii mwanya inapotea, tusipokaa chini tupige story, tuongee. We create that unified front because hii constituency hakuna pali inaenda. So it's not time to panic. We still got a lot of time. Hii constituency is strong because sisi ndio tuna control this side. They cannot control this side of things. We decide what is hot and what is not. So we still have a lot of power. I don't want people to kufa at mukufe raw. No, we can decide what is hot, what is not. We can decide we don't want this person. On the internet, na mtu atolewe. Tunaweza decide hii drink ni hot, ama hii drink I make sense. The internet is is our playground. So now you have to consider in the next elections for all countries around the world. They have to consider that this constituency now exists. This is a constituency that has never been talked to before, has never been marketed to before. The politician does not think that this constituency makes sense. Too much has been said. See you tomorrow.
This is The Morning Show with Andrew Kibe. Every Monday to Friday, only on AndrewKibeRadio.live.
Your punk ass sucks.